I sat in that hospital room, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, watching my wife Diane struggle to breathe through an oxygen mask. Her face was swollen beyond recognition, red blotches covering her neck and arms. My phone kept vibrating on the plastic chair beside me. Message after message from the family group chat, laughing emojis. Come on, it was funny. She overreacted. My mother's text cut deepest. Stop being dramatic, it was just a prank. I looked at Diane, then back at my phone, and something inside me finally broke. Before I tell you what happened, let me know where you are watching from. If you have ever had to face a toxic family, hit that like button so I know I am not alone in this. Subscribe right now because this story will show you that sometimes real love comes from people who do not share your blood. Growing up in Oregon, just outside Portland, I thought every family operated like mine. My father, Richard, died when I was 10 years old, leaving my mother Margaret to raise 3 kids on her own. There was Blake, my older brother by 5 years, me in the middle, and Stacy, my younger sister, by 3. We did not have much money, but we had what my mother called family spirit. That spirit, as I would learn much later, was actually something far more sinister. The pranks started small when I was around 8. My grandfather apparently loved practical jokes, and my mother carried on the tradition with religious devotion. At first, it seemed harmless enough. Someone would hide your shoes before school. You would find plastic wrap stretched across the toilet seat. Salt got mixed into the sugar bowl. I was usually the target, being the middle child and, according to my mother, too serious for his own good. When I complained about coming downstairs to find my backpack frozen in a block of ice, my mother would ruffle my hair and say, "You just do not have a sense of humor, honey." Blake learned early that joining in meant avoiding becoming the victim. By the time he was 15, he was orchestrating pranks of his own. Stacy followed suit at 12. I remember the morning I found all my clothes dyed pink in the washing machine. Blake and Stacy high-fived while my mother laughed so hard she had to sit down. I was 13 and had to wear those pink shirts to school for weeks because we could not afford new ones. When I got bullied because of it, my mother told me to toughen up. That phrase became her answer to everything. The pranks escalated over the years. Food got tampered with, personal belongings disappeared, private moments got recorded and shared. But it was always just a joke, and I was always too sensitive. By the time I graduated high school, I'd learned to keep my head down, accept whatever happened, and never show that it bothered me. Showing emotion only made it worse. I moved out at 20, got a job at a small tech company in the city, and tried to build a life separate from all of that. For 2 years, I kept my distance, visiting only on major holidays and keeping conversations brief. Then I met Diane at a coffee shop near my office. She was 22, worked as a graphic designer, and had the gentlest smile I had ever seen. She listened when I spoke. She asked about my day and actually cared about the answer. She never belittled my feelings or told me I was overreacting. Dating Diane felt like learning to breathe properly for the first time. She introduced me to the concept of mutual respect of relationships where both people felt safe. When I accidentally spilled coffee on her favorite sketchbook during our 3rd date, I braced myself for anger or some cruel comeback. Instead, she laughed it off and said, "Good thing I scan everything." That moment might sound small, but it rocked my world. People could actually be kind when mistakes happened. After a year together, I asked her to marry me at the same coffee shop where we met. She said yes without hesitation. I had never been so happy or so terrified, because now came the inevitable part I had been dreading. I had to introduce her to my family. The first dinner at my mother's house happened 6 months before our wedding. Diane spent the whole afternoon baking an apple pie from scratch and picked up fresh flowers from the farmer's market. She wanted to make a good impression. I tried to prepare her, explaining that my family had a unique sense of humor. But how do you really explain years of normalized cruelty to someone who grew up in a loving home? My mother accepted the pie and flowers with a tight smile that did not reach her eyes. Blake looked Diane up and down like she was a used car he was considering purchasing. Stacy was the friendliest of the three, but something about her cheerfulness felt performative, like an actress playing a part. Dinner started out fine. We talked about safe topics like the weather and my job. Then Blake leaned back in his chair and grinned. "Hey, Diane, did my little brother tell you he wet the bed until he was 12? My stomach dropped. Diane's smile froze on her face. I forced out a laugh. "That is not true. He is just messing around." "Oh, it is completely true." My mother chimed in, serving herself more potatoes. "We had to use special mattress covers and everything." Blake continued embellishing details that were not even real, clearly enjoying my discomfort. Diane laughed politely, but I could see the confusion in her eyes. Why was my family trying to humiliate me in front of her? Why was I not defending myself more forcefully? Then Stacy accidentally knocked over her orange juice. The whole glass went straight onto Diane's cream-colored dress, the one she had bought specifically for this dinner. Stacy gasped dramatically. "Oh my gosh, I'm so clumsy. I'm really sorry." But I caught it. The tiny smirk she tried to hide. The way she glanced at Blake to see his reaction. It was not an accident. Diane excused herself to the bathroom to clean up. She was gone for 15 minutes. When she came back, her eyes were slightly red, but she smiled and finished dinner without complaint. On the drive home, she was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "Your family is very lively, are they not?" "They are just like that," I said, already making excuses. "They will warm up to you. They just need time." She nodded, but something had shifted. I could feel it. We got married in a small ceremony that fall surrounded by Diane's family and our mutual friends. My mother, Blake, and Stacy attended, but spent most of the reception on their phones, making it clear they found the whole event boring. I tried not to let it bother me. Diane was now my wife, and we were building our own life in our own apartment across town. I thought distance might solve everything. For a few months, it seemed like it had. We saw my family only occasionally, and things felt manageable. Then came Diane's first birthday after our wedding. She wanted something low-key, just a small gathering at our place. Against my better judgment, I invited my mother and siblings. Diane insisted it would be rude not to. My mother arrived carrying a beautiful 3-layer cake chocolate with vanilla frosting. "I made this myself," she announced proudly. "Your favorite Diane." Diane's eyes lit up. She had mentioned once months ago that she loved chocolate cake. The fact that my mother remembered felt like progress. Maybe they were finally trying. We sang Happy Birthday. Diane blew out the candles, smiling that radiant smile that had made me fall in love with her. She picked up the knife and cut into the cake. The knife went in smoothly, but when she pulled it out, the smell hit us immediately. Sharp, pungent, chemical. Blake burst out laughing. Stacy covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking. My mother grinned widely. The inside of the cake was not chocolate at all. They had filled it with mustard hot sauce and what smelled like vinegar. "Surprise!" my mother shouted, like this was the funniest thing in the world. Diane's face crumbled. She tried to smile, tried to play along, but I saw her hands trembling. "Oh, wow, that is certainly unexpected." "It is a family tradition," Blake said, wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. "We always prank the cake for birthdays." That was a lie. We had never done that. They made it up specifically for Diane. I felt rage building in my chest, but I swallowed it down. "Mom, why would you do that?" "Oh, honey, relax. It is just a joke. Where is your sense of humor?" After they left, Diane locked herself in our bedroom and cried. I sat outside the door, listening, hating myself for not standing up to them more forcefully. When she finally came out, her eyes were swollen. "Why do they hate me?" "They do not hate you." I lied. "They are just thoughtless sometimes." A few days later, I called my mother. I needed to set boundaries to make her understand that Diane was off limits. The conversation went exactly as I feared. "Mom, Diane was really hurt by what happened with the cake." There was a pause, then her voice turned cold. "Are you taking her side over your own family?" "I am not taking sides. I'm just saying that it was not funny. It was mean." "She is too sensitive, Ashton. If she cannot handle a little joke, maybe she is not the right fit for this family." Those words hit me like a physical blow. Not the right fit. As if Diane had to prove herself worthy of basic human decency. As if cruelty was a test she was failing. Blake sent me a text later that night. "You're different now, man. She is making you soft." Stacy added, "Brother Ashton only listens to his wife now." I felt isolated from the people I had known my entire life, but for the first time that did not feel like a loss. It felt like clarity. I told Diane we would be skipping family gatherings for a while. She looked relieved, but my family was not going to let us off that easily. The pranks continued, just less directly. For Thanksgiving, we made the mistake of accepting my mother's invitation, convinced that a major holiday would inspire better behavior. Diane spent hours making her grandmother's recipe for cranberry walnut salad, something she was genuinely proud of. She brought it in a beautiful glass bowl, hoping to contribute something meaningful to the meal. During dinner, my mother served the salad with great fanfare. "Everyone needs to try Diane's special dish. She worked so hard on it." Diane beamed, pleased to be acknowledged. She took a bite of her own salad, chewing slowly. Then her expression changed. She chewed more carefully, then suddenly stopped. She reached into her mouth and pulled out a rubber bug, black and realistic enough to look real. Blake exploded with laughter. Stacy literally fell out of her chair, giggling. My mother smiled serenely as if watching her children open Christmas presents. Diane's eyes filled with tears. She set down her fork and excused herself to the bathroom. I stood up so fast my chair fell over. "That is enough." "Oh, come on, son. It is just a fake bug. It is not like it hurt her. You put it in her food, on Thanksgiving." Blake rolled his eyes. "She needs to learn to take a joke if she wants to be part of this family." That was the moment I realized they would never stop. They would never change. They genuinely believed this was acceptable behavior, and anyone who objected was the problem. I found Diane in the bathroom sitting on the closed toilet lid, crying silently into her hands. We left immediately. I did not say goodbye. Christmas was worse. A package arrived at our apartment wrapped beautifully with Diane's name on the tag. She opened it, excitedly touched that they had thought of her. Inside was a sweater. She held it up and her face fell. Printed across the front in large letters were the words, "Too sensitive." I called my mother, and for the first time in my life I yelled at her. Really yelled. "What is wrong with you people? We just want her to lighten up a little. She takes everything so personally." That is the point, Mom. Things that hurt people are supposed to be taken personally. That is what makes them hurtful. If she cannot handle our sense of humor, maybe she is not strong enough for you. Or maybe you are all bullies who hide behind the word joke. I hung up and blocked all three of them on my phone. I told Diane we were done. No more family events, no more surprise visits. We were going no contact, and I meant it. For a few months, life got better. The constant anxiety of waiting for the next prank faded. Diane started smiling more. We talked about starting a family of our own someday, creating something better than what I came from. Then, one evening in January, we went out for dinner at a seafood restaurant Diane had been wanting to try. She ordered the shrimp scampi. 3 bites in, she started scratching her neck. Then her face began to swell. She could not catch her breath. I panicked and drove her straight to the emergency room. The doctors gave her epinephrine and antihistamines. After she stabilized, the doctor came in looking serious. "Your wife has a severe shellfish allergy, specifically to shrimp. She needs to avoid it completely from now on. Next time she might not be so lucky. We are talking anaphylactic shock." He prescribed an EpiPen and made us both practice using it. Diane was shaken. I was terrified. I made her promise to always keep the medication with her. She agreed, though I could see the fear in her eyes. 2 months later, my phone rang. My mother. I almost did not answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Her voice was different, softer, almost apologetic. "Ashton, honey, I have been doing a lot of thinking. I realize we were too hard on Diane. I want to make things right." I was suspicious immediately. "What do you mean?" "I want to invite you both over for dinner. Just a nice, normal family meal. No pranks, I promise. I want to apologize properly and start over." Every instinct told me to refuse. But there was a tiny part of me, the little boy who had always wanted his mother's approval, that wanted to believe her. I talked it over with Diane. She was hesitant. "Do you think they have really changed?" "I do not know. Maybe. People can change, right?" She bit her lip, thinking. "If you want to try, I will support you. But I'm bringing my EpiPen just in case." I nodded. "I will not let anything happen to you, I promise." Saturday evening arrived too quickly. We drove to my mother's house in tense silence. Diane kept touching her purse, checking that her medication was there. I reached over and squeezed her hand. "If anything feels wrong, we leave. No questions, no explanations. We just go." She nodded, grateful. My mother answered the door with open arms and a bright smile. She hugged Diane first, holding her for several seconds. "I'm so glad you came. I have missed you both so much, and I'm truly sorry for how I behaved." Blake and Stacy were already in the living room. Blake stood and shook my hand firmly. "Good to see you, brother. We have been idiots." Stacy hugged Diane. "I'm really sorry for everything. We took things way too far." The apologies seemed genuine. The atmosphere felt different, lighter somehow. We sat down to dinner and the conversation flowed naturally. My mother had made roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, and a garden salad. Everything tasted good, normal. For the first time in years, I started to relax. Maybe they had done some serious self-reflection. Maybe they realized how badly they had hurt us. Diane was more comfortable too. She laughed at Blake's story about a work mishap. She complimented Stacy's new haircut. She thanked my mother repeatedly for the meal. I felt hope rising in my chest. Maybe families could heal. Maybe people really could change. After we finished the main course, my mother stood up. I made something special for dessert. Just wait right there. She disappeared into the kitchen and returned carrying a glass dish filled with what looked like chocolate mousse. It was beautifully presented, topped with whipped cream and chocolate shavings. She set it on the table with pride. I made this myself. Chocolate mousse, your favorite Diane. Diane's face lit up. You remembered. That is so sweet. My mother served everyone a portion. We all picked up our spoons. Diane took a bite first, and I watched her face carefully looking for any sign of another prank. She chewed slowly, then paused. This tastes a little strange. There is something unexpected in the flavor. My mother's smile widened. Oh, that is the special ingredient. I added something for extra richness. Diane swallowed the bite. 5 seconds later, her hand went to her throat. Her breathing changed, becoming shallow and labored. Her skin started turning red blotchy patches, spreading across her neck and face. Ashton, she gasped. I cannot breathe. Terror shot through me. What did you put in the mousse, Mom? She laughed. Actually laughed. Just some ground shrimp. It adds a nice seafood depth to the chocolate. The room spun. What Diane is allergic to shrimp? Oh, really, I did not know that. But Blake and Stacy were laughing. Not surprised, not concerned. Laughing. Stacy had her phone out recording. This was planned. This was intentional. They knew. They absolutely knew. Diane's lips were swelling now. Her eyes were panicked, searching for me. I ran to the car, grabbed her EpiPen from her purse, and sprinted back. My hands shook as I removed the cap and jabbed it into her thigh through her pants. The medication dispensed with a click. Her breathing eased slightly, but she was still in distress. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Help is coming, baby. Just hold on. Just breathe. Behind me, Blake was still chuckling. Man, you're really overreacting. She's going to be fine. I whirled around. She could die. Do you understand that she could actually die? My mother waved her hand dismissively. Do not be so dramatic. It was just a little bit of shrimp. She is going into anaphylactic shock. Stacy was reviewing the video on her phone. This is going to get so many views. Should I post it now or wait? I could not believe what I was hearing. My wife was struggling to breathe, possibly dying, and they were treating it like entertainment. The ambulance arrived within 8 minutes, though it felt like hours. The paramedics rushed in, assessed Diane, and loaded her onto a stretcher. I climbed in beside her. Before the ambulance doors closed, I looked back at my family standing in the doorway. They were not worried. They were not scared. Blake had his arm around Stacy, both of them grinning. My mother waved cheerfully. Call us when you get to the hospital. The doors slammed shut, and we sped away, sirens wailing. At the hospital, they rushed Diane into the emergency room. I was left in the waiting area shaking with adrenaline and rage. My phone started buzzing. Messages from the family group chat that I thought I had left. Blake, LOL, she really is dramatic. Stacy, I got it on video, want me to post? My mother, tell her we are sorry, but it was funny. They were still laughing. My wife was fighting for her life behind those doors, and they were still laughing. Something fundamental broke inside me at that moment. Not the sad, painful break of losing someone you love. the clean, sharp break of finally seeing the truth with perfect clarity. A doctor came out after what felt like an eternity. Your wife is going to be okay. You administered the epinephrine quickly, which saved her life. But I need you to understand something. This was a severe reaction. If this happens again without immediate treatment, she will die. Not might die, will die. I nodded numb. Can I see her? In a few minutes. We're just getting her settled. When they finally let me in, Diane was lying in the hospital bed, oxygen tubes in her nose, her face still swollen, but no longer the terrifying purple it had been. When she saw me, tears started sliding down her cheeks. They did it on purpose, she whispered. They knew. I know. I pulled a chair up beside her bed and took her hand. I'm so sorry. I never should have taken you there. I never should have believed they could change. It is not your fault. It is. I wanted to believe in them so badly that I put you in danger. She squeezed my fingers weakly. What are we going to do? I took a deep breath. I'm going to protect you. Always. Starting right now. I stepped out into the hallway and called my mother. She answered on the first ring, sounding almost cheerful. How is she doing? My voice came out flat, emotionless. She almost died. The doctor said if I had been 30 seconds slower with the EpiPen, she would have died. A pause. Well, thank goodness you were quick then. See, everything turned out fine. No, Mom, nothing is fine. You poisoned my wife. Do not be ridiculous. It was just a prank that went a tiny bit too far. You knowingly fed her something that could kill her. That is not a prank. That is attempted murder. Blake's voice in the background. Is he seriously calling the cops on us? My mother sighed dramatically. Ashton, you are overreacting as usual. We were trying to help toughen her up. Something in me finally completely broke free. No, we are done. All of us. I do not want to see you again. I do not want to hear from you again. If you come near me or my wife, I will file a restraining order. This is over. You cannot just abandon your family. Watch me. I hung up and immediately blocked all 3 numbers. Then I blocked them on every social media platform, every messaging app, everything. I went back into Diane's room and sat down beside her. I cut them off. Completely. They're never going to hurt you again. She started crying harder, but this time it seemed like relief. Are you sure I do not want you to regret it? The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. You are my family now. You are my only family. Diane was released from the hospital 2 days later with strict instructions to avoid all shellfish and to carry her EpiPen everywhere. We went home to our quiet apartment, just the 2 of us, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Over the next few weeks, my mother tried calling from different numbers. I did not answer. Blake created new social media accounts to message me. I blocked them all. Stacy sent messages through mutual acquaintances. I told them I was not interested in hearing anything from my family. My mother left a voicemail on one of her attempts. You are throwing away your whole family over one woman. You're going to regret this for the rest of your life. But I did not regret it. Not even a little bit. Blake posted on social media, when your brother chooses some girl over his own blood. Several people commented supportively under it, relatives who did not know the full story, friends of theirs who thought family always came first, no matter what. I did not bother correcting the narrative. The people who mattered knew the truth. What surprised me was how much lighter I felt. The constant anxiety of wondering when the next prank would happen disappeared. The exhausting work of excusing their behavior and managing Diane's hurt feelings vanished. For the first time since childhood, I did not have to walk on eggshells in my own life. 6 months after the incident, Diane and I made a big decision. We moved to Seattle, 5 hours north of Portland. Fresh start, new city. No chance of random run-ins with my family. We found a small house with a backyard where Diane could plant a garden. I got a better job at a larger tech company. She freelanced for clients all over the country. More importantly, we started building our chosen family. Our next-door neighbors, Patricia and George, were a retired couple who invited us over for dinner our first week there. Patricia reminded me of what a mother should be asking genuine questions and listening to the answers. George taught me how to fix a leaking faucet and did not mock me when I admitted I had no idea what I was doing. Diane joined a book club and made 3 close friends who came over every other Wednesday. I started running with a group of guys from work who grabbed breakfast afterward. We hosted game nights and barbecues. We celebrated birthdays and holidays with people who respected us, who would never dream of hurting us for entertainment. 1 year after cutting contact, I got a letter in the mail. My mother had somehow tracked down our new address. The letter was 6 pages long, detailing all the ways I had betrayed the family, how ungrateful I was for everything they had sacrificed for me, how Diane had poisoned my mind against them. There was no acknowledgement of what they had done, no real apology, just anger that I had dared to set boundaries. I showed it to Diane. She read it carefully, then looked at me. "How do you feel?" "Nothing. I feel nothing." And that was true. The letter did not hurt me. It did not make me doubt my decision. If anything, it confirmed I had made the right choice. I tore it into pieces and threw it away. I did not respond. They did not deserve my energy. Diane got pregnant that fall. We did not tell my biological family. We did not want them anywhere near our child. Instead, we told Patricia and George, who cried happy tears. We told our friend group, who threw us the most thoughtful baby shower I could have imagined. We told Diane's parents, who flew in from Ohio and stayed for 2 weeks after our daughter was born. We named her Emma. She has her mother's gentle spirit, and I hope none of my family's cruelty. When I hold her, I think about the cycle I am breaking. She will never know what it is like to be the target of constant mockery. She will never have to laugh off her own pain to keep the peace. She will grow up knowing that love means safety, not survival. Sometimes people ask if I miss them. My mother, my brother, my sister. The honest answer is no. I miss the idea of what they could have been. I miss the fantasy of a supportive family that I carried in my head for so many years. But I do not miss them. How could I miss people who tried to kill my wife and laughed about it? The other day, Diane and I were sitting in our backyard watching Emma play in her sandbox. The Seattle sun was warm on my face. Patricia called over the fence to invite us for dinner that weekend. George was grilling and they wanted Emma to try his famous ribs. Diane leaned her head on my shoulder. "Are you happy?" I looked around at our small, peaceful life. At the wife who trusted me to protect her. At the daughter who would grow up knowing what real love looked like. At the neighbors who cared about us without conditions. At the friends who showed up when we needed them. I have never been happier. She smiled and kissed my cheek. We sat there in comfortable silence, and I realized something profound. The family you choose will always be more powerful than the family you are born into. Blood does not make you loyal. Love does not require you to accept abuse. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. They say blood is thicker than water, but they forget the full saying, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The promises we make to the people we choose will always matter more than the accident of shared genetics. My mother, Blake, and Stacy will never understand that. They will spend the rest of their lives thinking they were right, and I was wrong that I gave up my family for a woman who could not take a joke. But they are wrong. I did not give up my family. I found it. If you have ever had to walk away from toxic family members, drop a comment below. I would love to hear your story. Hit that like button if this resonated with you, and please subscribe, because sharing these stories helps others know they are not alone. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope you find the courage to protect the people you love, no matter who you have to walk away from. May you all find your real family, whoever they may be.